My name is Miss Antonio. Today we're going to be learning about weaving, what a loom is, what a tapestry is, and what weaving is. Growing up, I never considered myself to be an artist per se, because I couldn't draw and I can't really paint, but I do feel like I can weave, and so I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks to get you weaving. We're going to learn what a loom is, how to create one at home with little to no materials, and how to weave. What is a tapestry anyway? A tapestry is a piece of thick textile fabric with pictures or designs formed by weaving colored weft threads to make a wall hanging. The possibilities are endless. I'd encourage you to use your creative juices and do whatever you feel is right in the moment. Otherwise, you can follow a pattern. A loom is a mechanical means to hold a series of threads called warp in place while the weft is woven across them. The warp is the set of yarns or other things stretched in place on a loom before the weft is introduced during the weaving process. The weft threads are the horizontal threads that are interlaced through the warp threads. Building your loom. For this activity, you will need a piece of cardboard, a pair of scissors, a glue stick, pen or pencil, two 1-inch wide pieces of cardboard, a dowel to hang your tapestry once it's complete, a ruler, and a weaving needle. This is optional. Pause the video here to gather your materials. First, decide on the dimensions of your loom. The one pictured is 8 by 10 inches. Cut a rectangle or square to the dimensions that you want your loom to be. For the purposes of this video, we'll be using 8 inches by 10 inches. Next, measure 1 inch on both sides. You will not cut into this area or weave on this area. Mark and cut 1/4 inch lines across the bottom, the side that is 8 inches long. Cut 2 pieces of cardboard that are 1 inch tall and 8 inches long. Glue them just under the 1/4 inch slits, as the arrows point to in this image. Tie a knot and put the knot at the back of the loom on the first tab at the bottom. This is what the front of the loom should look like. This is what the back of the loom should look like. And finally, it's time to weave. Okay, hi everyone. So now that we have created our loom, our cardboard loom, this is what it looks like. This is the front. This is the back. And again, as a reminder, these are our warp threads that are going up and down here vertically. Now I've taken this dowel. You could use a dowel, you could use a pencil or a pen. And what I've done is I've just woven it into the warp threads. And I'm going to show you how I did that. And that's just to relieve a little bit of tension. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this yarn out of the way, this beautiful yarn. I'm going to start here. I'm going to start by going under. Yeah, like that. And you just go under, over, like so. I just want to make sure that you can see. And you can. Under, over. And so you just keep going until you've gotten all the way through. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So that's what I had done at the very beginning there. Now I just want to show you a couple things. You can use one of these two items, if you'd like, they are weaving needles. One of them has, it's got a hook at the end, as you can sort of see. I'm not sure whether you can see that or not. But that can be used to help you weave the yarn through your warped threads, or you could use a straight one like this. You can also just use your fingers. And so I think that's what we're gonna do today, because that's what you'll be doing in class. The other thing that you may need that wasn't mentioned earlier is a fork. And that is gonna be to beat those weft threads down, which we'll talk about in a second. So in terms of selecting your color, you can choose whatever colors you want. I am a really big fan of neutral colors. And so I've selected 5 colors here. And what I've done is I've arranged them from lightest to darkest. Now you don't have to do that, but that's what I've done. And so it's really fun to be able to pick and choose your colors, whatever you think looks best. And again, this is art. And so whatever you think looks best is what's best. So I'm going to start with this color here, this beige sort of browny color. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unravel it a little bit and just see how much I need. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end here, this is an end, and just see how much I'm going to need. So I'm going to need at least 4 rows, and we're going to start with the tabby weave, which is the most basic weave, or just a plain weave is also called a tabby weave. So we're going to start here, and we want to leave a little bit of a tail at the end there. So 1, 2, let's go back, 3, 4. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra at the end just in case. I'm going to move my yarn off to the side now. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start on, I'm going to start on the right side, and you're going to start by going over. So over this warp. And again, this is going to be your weft thread because it's going horizontally. The warped threads go vertically. So let's go. So over, under, and you do that all the way until you've gone to the other side. Okay, over, under, and let's just move this down a little bit just so that, again, there's less tension, and you see how the warp threads are up. That is very helpful for while you are trying to go through. So let's just pull it a little bit through and making sure that I am in fact going under, over, under, over, under. Okay, so again, pulling it through gently. Okay, so now that I'm at the end, I'm going to pull it through. Oh, here we go. I'm going to pull it through until there is a tail at the end here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that fork, or you can use your fingers to just beat it down a little bit there so that it's right at the bottom. Okay, or you can use a comb too if you're at home and you have a comb, or if you're at school and you have a comb, that's something else that you could do. So I'm going to pause the video and come back once I have done the next 4 rows. But actually first, I just want to point out that we ended under here on this side. So now we're going to be going over. So maybe I'll just show you that quickly. So we'll start by going over, under, over, under, over, under. And if you're up the top there where there's less tension, it's almost a little bit easier. So that's why I'm moving up here so high. Pulling it through to make sure everything's all good there, and it is. Okay. And then, so we're going over, under, over, under. Okay, so welcome back, and I'm nearly at the end of this row, and so I'm just going under, over, still here. But I do want to point out a couple things to you. Now, oh, that's under, over, okay. So, oopsies. Yeah. So the first thing that I'd like to point out to you is that when you are beating the wool down or your yarn down, you want to make sure that you're not pulling it too tight, because what's going to happen is that it's going to squeeze in these warped threads, and it's going to make, that's how it's going to look at the end. And so you just want to be careful not to pull too tight here. You just want to be gentle. And if you do pull a bit too tight, you can always loosen it, but that's something that you want to check out. The other thing is that if you look closely, I haven't made any errors yet, but you can kind of check to make sure that each row is in fact alternating. So this one's over, that one's under, that one's over, and that one is under again. So if you do make a mistake, no biggie, you can always unravel that one row. Let's talk raya knots. So raya knots are that beautiful fringe look that you get at the bottom of the weaving, sometimes in the middle of the weaving, to the top of the weaving. They can be placed anywhere throughout your tapestry. So what I've done here is I've measured out, as you can see on the right hand side and in my hands, the length of fringe that I want. Usually I would suggest that you take 2 strands, and what I'm doing is I'm going around 2 different warped threads. You're going to go around the outside of the warped threads and pull them up through the middle. So if you can see what I'm doing there, I'm going up around one side, around the other side, pulling it up the middle, and then just pulling it really gently up through the middle to tighten it. So take a closer look there, and that just gives it that really nice fringy look. So around one warp thread, around the other of its pair, up through the middle, and then just gently pull up through the middle to tighten. And we repeat over and over again. Don't worry about trimming the fringe just yet, or those ends. We'll take care of those later on. Okay, and then simply keep going. I'd suggest putting a couple rows of plain weave above your raya knots, but other than that, have fun with it and just keep playing with the colors. I love the braid effect that the sumac weave creates, and it can look really different depending on which fibers you're weaving with. So to start, you're going to start by passing the weft thread over 2 warp threads. Loop the weft down and around the second warp. Pull the weft thread up and continue in the same pattern. Over 2, loop down and around the second. Make sure to pull the weft the same direction each time. It's going to give you like a laddering sort of effect. And when you pull it down, it's going to start to look like a braid. The last step, taking your tapestry off the loom to hang it. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is take that fringe at the bottom and flip it up. You're going to turn the loom over to the back, and you're going to begin cutting the bottom warp threads very gently and very carefully. You're going to flip it back over once they've been cut, and you're going to tie each of those warped threads in pairs. You're going to tie them in knots. So tie them once, just like you tie your shoes, except you're going to pull the laces through. And you're going to do that all the way across as I've done here. Once that's done, pull the fringe back down and work on the top. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of those pairs of warped threads off the top and create a knot. You're going to tie a knot so that they don't unravel. You're then going to take your dowel and you're going to put it through the loops. Put it flat on the table. Use a ruler so that at the bottom your fringe is straight, or you could cut it diagonally as well. And then take a piece of string and hang it from the top. And that's it, folks. That's the end. That is your beautiful tapestry that's ready to be hung up on the wall.